quote of the week this time around comes from Mr. Jim Rohn, who said this: "Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune." I love that. Well, and you often say, Mike, that the financial education system in this country is broken. And so, you've got to be self-educating when it comes to finances. And that can very well make you a fortune, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like going to the doctor, right? I mean, you need to be your own advocate for your own healthcare. Well, you absolutely need to be your own advocate for your own financial future, right? Look, I have nothing against a formal education. It is a great starting point, but let's be real. If you want more than just scraping by, if you're somebody who wants significance, independence, confidence in retirement, and yes, maybe even a fortune, then you have to go beyond the classroom. You have to seek the knowledge that school does not teach, like how money actually works, how to grow it, how to protect it, how to turn your life savings into an income stream that you cannot live. And here's the thing. Nobody's going to do that learning for you, not your employer, not your college professor. And that is why self-education, reading books, listening to podcasts like Money Matters with Mike, getting somebody to mentor you, working with experts, that, folks, is where the real magic happens. It is how you take control of your financial future. And when people come into my office, they're not just looking for numbers, right? They're looking for understanding. They want to know why we do what we do and how it ensures that they never have to worry about running out of money in retirement. That is self-education. That is financial empowerment. So if you are tired of just making a living and you're ready to build a future that is rooted in knowledge, rooted in strategy, and in peace of mind, let's talk. Because the truth is this: education may get you started, but self-education, that is what is going to take you across the finish line. Stick with me, folks. We're just getting warmed up.
That's right. This is just the warm up, everybody. We got a lot more coming here on the show, but a great way to start there, Mike, because it's absolutely true. I mean, I feel like the things that obviously the things that we learn in school are great and wonderful, but the things that we don't learn can leave big gaps, especially when it comes to finances. I mean, just as you were talking there, I remembered in high school, we did that sort of what was like the stock market game kind of a thing where we would be named teams and we'd pick investments, and whoever's investment performed the best would win, some kind of prize or whatever over a certain period of time. And that was kind of it as far as any sort of financial education goes. I mean, back then people wrote checks more often, but we didn't even learn how to write a check. So it's one of those things where it's been lacking for quite a while. Even back in my day when I was in school, we didn't necessarily learn all the things that we should have learned. But I mean, that is one of the reasons I know that you do the show and want to just have this sort of outreach to folks, is because we're just trying to fill that gap here in people's knowledge. And, I feel like it's a great thing to have. It's a great resource to have for folks just in the general public. And, as part of that education, what we're going to do today is talk about a lot of these financial fundamentals, especially when it comes to people's retirement years. And we've got to start off with, in this part of the show, 9 ways to live comfortably during retirement, no matter how much you have saved. We often say, of course, when's the best time to plant a tree is, 100 years ago or whatever, but when's the second best time today? If you take that, first step toward planning for your retirement, no matter how far along you are, you can have that comfortable retirement. And then no matter how much you've saved and no matter where you find yourself when you get there to whatever date you have circled on the calendar, you can live comfortably. And I think number one is the thing that people should be able to count on, and people need to realize that they've got a lot of decision points that can help maximize their Social Security income. Don't just, willy-nilly say, okay, well, this 62, I'm going to take the money and run. It could be a lot more complicated than that for you in your situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, maximizing your final earning years to help boost your future Social Security benefits, I think that's paramount. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you can make more money and get a raise and earn more and pay more into the Social Security system, that means you're going to get more out of the Social Security system. And then just delaying Social Security can help you enormously, right? If you can help it, don't settle for less by taking it too early, because you can actually give yourself a 24% boost to your benefit by delaying all the way out until age 70, especially if you're somebody that has longevity in their genes. Now, if you're somebody that's unhealthy or all of your people give up in their 60s or 70s, then yeah, go on and get your money, right? But if you can help it, you just by delaying even 1 year is going to increase your ultimate benefit. And that over time, folks, it adds up.
Yeah, I mean, if your full retirement age is 67, let's say, which is most people listening would be, if your full retirement age is 67, if you were to claim Social Security at age 62 when you're first eligible, you're only going to get 70% of your full benefit. But if you were to delay, if you're able, like you said, if it makes sense for you to age 70, you're going to receive 124% of your benefit each and every month. So that is a huge boost on a monthly basis. And like you said, if you've got longevity on your side, could absolutely be the right strategy. And then, another thing that people need to think about in retirement in order to live comfortably is that biggest bill that pretty much everybody has every month. That's the house payment, right? I mean, what do people need to be thinking about as far as the house goes in retirement?
Yeah, so I think leading up to retirement, people need to be really aware of their finances and their monthly cash flow. So paying off their house or maybe downsizing and then paying cash for your new smaller house and investing the difference, I think that makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing, folks, don't use your retirement dollars to pay off your house, okay? Because that is just robbing your future self. The happiest retirees we meet with have strategized and figured out ways to double down and pay off their mortgage, but they don't steal from their retirement in order to do it. And that will help you have more monthly income during those golden years and allow you much more freedom and a breath of fresh air.
I was going to say they don't rob Peter to pay Paul, but I guess it would be robbing Peter to pay Peter. I guess in that case, there's
exactly
robbing yourself to pay yourself. Yeah, don't do that. But you can actually, save that money, save a big chunk of money from having no mortgage payment. Mm-hmm. And then so in retirement or close to it, whenever you get that paid off, that frees up a lot of cash flow, and you can actually then pay yourself a lot more, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to reinvest that money so that you can pay yourself more as you get older. Trying to maximize and use catch-up contributions to your advantage would be one way of ultimately paying yourself more.
Yeah. And then, I would also say that this next one is super important, and that is to take emotions really out of the picture, right? As far as your investments go. We've seen a lot of market volatility here so far this year, and emotions can get the better of you. But I feel like it's so important to not necessarily stay the course, meaning not necessarily stay the same course that you've been on, but make sure that you don't just pull everything out when the going gets tough, because that's not a good thing.
Right. Stay invested is what you're saying, right? Make smart adjustments each and every single year, or as life events change your goals, right? If you add a new member to your family, whether that's a child or a grandchild, if you change jobs, if you have a death in your family, your financial family, especially if like death of a spouse, if you retire, these are all life events, and they may change your goals, your ultimate goals. You have to be able to, respond to those and pivot in the moment. I just brought a smile to my face because I thought of the Friends episode, Pivot. Any of you Gen Xers will definitely get that. But just staying invested and making smart adjustments just makes sense.
Yeah. And another thing that makes sense for a lot of folks too is a Roth conversion. And people have probably heard that term, used on occasion anyway, maybe on the radio or on TV or whatever, but they might not exactly know what that means. What is a Roth conversion? What's the advantage of it?
Yeah, it's just taking money that you have left. Like, in other words, if you have some room left that before you're pushed into a higher tax bracket, you can pay the exact same tax amount on any tax deferred dollars. So money in IRAs, money in 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, anything like that. Convert just enough money that keeps you at your current tax bracket and go ahead and pay the taxes on that and open up a Roth, which will help protect you from future tax increases, and it will eliminate any required minimum distributions from your retirement plan on that portion of money that you have converted. So
Yeah.
I think that's smart as well.
Yeah, it can be very smart for folks, and because those RMDs not fun for people when Uncle Sam says, "Hey, I want my money," so you got to make a withdrawal from that account or take a distribution from that account at age 73.
Yeah, whether you need the money or not.
Right. Whether you need the money or not, and then eventually that'll go up to 75. So that'll be a bit of a boon for folks. They'll have a 2-year delay, but still, you reach 75, and it's not going to be fun. All right, number 6 on this list of ways to live comfortably in retirement, Mike, is to build your own personal pension. And that is really a great kind of literally an insurance policy, really. And I guess an insurance policy in the abstract as well, because it's money that you cannot outlive. And that really just gives peace of mind, which I feel like is so great.
Yeah, I mean, if you're fortunate enough to work for a company or the government and you have a pension, great. Fact is, most people don't. And even those that do can take a portion of their other retirement dollars and create a personal pension by investing in a fixed indexed annuity. If you guys missed last week's show, do yourself a favor. We really dove deep and went into exactly what annuities are and how they work, because there's a lot of bad press out there. And I'm here to tell you that not all annuities are created equally. The money that you invest in a fixed indexed annuity, for an example, has a zero floor, right? You can never do worse than zero. Some of them actually have higher than a zero floor, and some of them offer bonuses. They'll grow your principal. They'll give you market-like gains without any of the market-like risk. So there are numerous advantages to placing some money into an annuity, but building that personal pension that you can never outlive, that is a big one for most folks.
Yeah, absolutely right. And then also, people, we would talk about income as people think of, income type of investments in their portfolio. They often may think of bonds, but we would, encourage folks to consider replacing those bonds completely with something like you were just talking about.
Yeah, like a fixed indexed annuity. I mean, the old 60-40 rule that grandpa and great grandpa used, it worked for them, but we're starting to see a lot of bonds, mature. And guess what? They're not maturing anywhere near where they were promised. There's fees that are associated with them. And so by creating a personal pension with the use of a fixed indexed annuity, that is a definite it's a perfect strategy for a portion of the income portion, I should say, of your retirement.
Yeah. And then another thing, of course, to make sure that you do is make sure that you're properly diversified. And not just diversifying, people think of that. They'll think of like, oh, well, I've got to be not all invested in tech stocks or whatever that is. I've got to diversify across different asset classes and those types of things. But you also need to be diversified in a tax sort of way as well. So you got to think about different tax buckets of money.
Yeah. I mean, the best kind of money in the world is free money, right? The second best kind of money is tax-free money, followed by tax-deferred money, and then ultimately taxable money, right? So if we want to make sure that you have some tax-free money, some tax-deferred money, and then the money that you're always going to have to pay Uncle Sam on. So diversifying between those tax buckets makes you much more streamlined and tax efficient in retirement.
Yeah. And then also, the last one here that we'll talk about as far as living comfortably in retirement, people don't like the word budget, so we can call it a spending plan. We can call it a cash flow analysis. We can call it whatever we want to call it. But you got to know what's coming in and what's going out, right?
Yeah, it's very, very important to make sure that there's not more month than money in retirement. Okay. You've worked your rear end off for your entire working life. When it comes to your retirement, you want to make sure there's a surplus and not a gap. So you need to be able to accurately predict and forecast and calculate what your monthly expenses are, not necessarily how big your investment number is, because the number means nothing if it does not produce positive cash flow in retirement.
That's right. And, I mean, my sort of biggest piece of advice, or my biggest tip, I guess, to folks listening is that if there's any doubt in your mind, no matter where you are in your financial journey, if there's any doubt in your mind at all about whether you are prepared for your retirement years, or whether you think you are going to be prepared for your retirement years when that comes, I would meet with a financial professional. I just happen to know a guy named Mike Zaino, by the way. I don't know if you guys have heard of him or not, but he's great. MoneyMattersWithMike.com is the website. 704-560-1573 is the number.